pulled out of The Independent to do with the invasion of Iraq.
That's right, Stuart. Front page, secret memos expose link between oil firms and invasion of Iraq. Now, this is a documentation that The Independent has got its hands on before any other newspaper, it appears. It's partly a stash of 1,000 documents which were obtained by the oil campaigner Greg Muttitt. Now, he's releasing a book next week called Fuel on Fire. Now, he says it shows that oil was a major factor in the invasion of Iraq. I suppose a lot of people suspected that already. And indeed that there was some collusion with several oil companies. Now, he's looking at it more from a British perspective, and it shows that these documents show that in October, November 2002, this is about 5 months before the invasion of Iraq, civil servants, ministers in Blair's cabinet met with representatives of BP and Shell to discuss, I suppose, sharing up that cake. And it shows that BP were quite concerned that Washington was already making deals and that they were going to be locked out of this whole process. Now, what's interesting about that, of course, is the timing. This was 5 months before the invasion. It was before Blair's cabinet voted on the Iraqi invasion based on weapons of mass destruction. So it does seem to show, as this Greg Muttitt chap says, that there was a degree of conclusion with the oil giants. And if we have a look at analysis conducted by The Independent's Patrick Colburn, he says they denied it was about Iraq's resources, but it never rang true. Would the invasion have happened if Iraq was producing cabbage? Probably not.
A lot more to come out of the woodwork, I suspect.
I'd imagine so, especially when that book comes out next week.
Yeah, exactly. And financial stories you've also picked up on.
Well, yes, and Owen will be talking about it in a lot more detail later, but it's gone beyond just a business story, hasn't it? S&P, which is one of the rating agencies in the US, sounds alarm on US debt. Now, this is the first ever. Standard & Poor's, now they didn't downgrade the AAA rating. It was subtler than that. They attached a kind of a negative outlook, which means there's a chance of a future downgrade. But this is never seen before stuff. If we have a look at the front page of the Wall Street Journal, Europe, warning on US debt roils markets. And as he'll be telling us later, it is a slap in the face. Owen will be going into more detail on that. But just a quick look at some more coverage. The Guardian, worst since Pearl Harbor is their take on things. It's a move seen on Wall Street as a shot across the bows of bickering politicians in Washington. And just on that topic, the Washington Post, their analysis says that it's not really that this rating agency doesn't think America can absorb its debt. It's more they don't think that the Democrats and the Republicans can agree on how to approach it, and that gap between those two parties is in fact widening. So indeed, Standard & Poor's is right to have these concerns.
Now, quite a few of the papers have picked up on this story which we told you about yesterday to do with the immigrants, mainly from Tunisia, trying to come from Italy and into France.
A big story in the French papers, as we saw earlier this morning. Let's have a quick look at Il Messaggero in Italy and La UE con Parigi. They're saying that the EU takes Paris's side on this one. So there's a full page of reporting on it. They talk about how Franco Frattini, the foreign minister, says that there will be consequences for this sort of a decision, that it's not going to resolve the problem. On the right-hand side of the page there's on the right-hand column, there's an interview with Bernard Kouchner, former foreign minister here in France. He says that migrants from North Africa are the boat people of the 21st century, that instead of bickering between Paris and Rome, we should be helping them with their wonderful uprising in the Arab world. And the problem of Ventimiglia, that's that town on the Italian border where they were prevented on Sunday, Tunisian migrants from coming into France, that it is part of a much broader issue and that can only be resolved at a European level. They also have a report at the bottom of the page where they speak to some of those people and about their hopes of getting into France, where, of course, there are 600,000 Tunisians. So a lot of them want to come in here to meet family and friends.
Okay, and finally, Daily Telegraph. Is this aimed at anyone, this story?
I don't know, it could be aimed at a lot of people in this newsroom, really, couldn't it?
Probably.
Swearing can help relieve pain. This is a study from Kiel University. Where would you be without these studies at the end of a press review? Basically, a volley of foul language can have a powerful pain-killing effects, apparently. Now, they conducted a study showing that if you dip your hands into really, really cold water and just say normal words, it's not anywhere near as effective as if you swear. You can keep your hands in the water for much longer. Now, they think basically that swearing taps into the right-hand side of the brain, whereas most language production is on the left-hand side of the brain. And as they say here, it might explain why the centuries-old practice of cursing developed and why it still persists today, which is a very sort of scientific way of analysing something that doesn't, seem, very formal. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I've got a bad back. Do you mind if I...
Perhaps it might be inappropriate, Stuart. I don't know.
All right, James. Thank you very much. That's James Creedon with his international paper review this morning. Headlines here on